Hey roamers, welcome back to the channel. I'm Felix.
And I'm Cindy.
And in 2019, we sold everything. Moved into our 2020 Keystone Bullet and hit the road full time.
Now we're in our 2022 Keystone Cougar, following my nursing contracts. I'm a travel nurse, and we usually stay 3 to 6 months at each place. We've been back and forth across the country a few times.
And if you're interested in nursing content, Cindy's got her own channel called Real Life Nursing. There'll be a link in the description. But today, folks, we want to talk to you about RV idiots.
Or RVidiots.
RVidiots.
You heard it here first.
That's right. We coined that phrase.
Trademark.
Yeah. And what do we mean by RVidiots? Very simply, it's people who don't obey campground etiquette.
Rules, whether they're written or unwritten.
And the bottom line here is most of this stuff would be applicable if you were in a sticks and bricks too. But it just seems like people get out in their RVs and none of those rules apply anymore. Somebody who follows that philosophy would be an RVidiot. So we're going to talk to you today about 10 things that are regularly practiced by
RVidiots.
Number one, not cleaning up after your pets. And it's not just dogs. I've seen people out there walking cats, many cats. And something that I found, and I've been a cat owner my whole life, something that I found is that those that are being walked out on the leashes don't necessarily bury their feces the way cats who have a litter box do. So you got to clean up after your cats too. But I walk through this park, even this little small park that we're in right now, and there is dog poop all over the place. And I always clean up after him. I'm not going to clean up your dog's poop too. It's not just a mess because people will step in it. Every dog, him included, will walk over to that poop and sniff it. And I have no idea if your dog is healthy, if it has worms, if it has some disease that you're now transferring to my dog. Be considerate. All it takes is having a bag with you.
Not to mention, it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
What if you're out for a walk, or anybody's out for a walk, and you have to clean dog poop off your shoe before you can come inside? That's gross.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing that we see a lot of, especially if there's children around in the park or teenagers, is people walking through our site, like under our awning or right around the end of our rig. And you wouldn't do that, hopefully, in somebody's yard. You know, if you were living in a regular neighborhood, you wouldn't just willy-nilly walk through people's yards. It's rude. Plus, some people are very particular about their grass.
Get off my lawn.
But in an RV park, you only have a small amount of space that belongs to you while you're there. So be considerate and think about how you would act in a neighborhood. You wouldn't just walk right through somebody's yard. You would find an empty place, an empty field, an empty lot, walk through there, or just walk on the sidewalk. And a lot of times in RV parks, there are unoccupied sites. That's fine. Walk through those. There's nobody there. But I know in the larger one where we are in Tucson, sometimes we'll cut through sites when we're walking from one place to another to shortcut through, but we don't walk through a site that somebody's already occupying where they're living. That's their living space. So just be considerate, and also teach that to your children and your teenagers when they're having fun running around the RV park. It's not kosher. It's not etiquette to walk through somebody else's site.
I mean, when we were in Tifton, Georgia, I'm a photographer. I like to take pictures of stuff. And when we were in Tifton, there was this beautiful, perfect spider web right outside our RV. And in Tifton, on the East Coast, you get dew in the morning. So I wanted to get a picture of the dew hanging from this spider web. Look, this may sound petty, okay? But three kids came dashing through our site, right through that spider web.
And since it was from a chair on our patio to the rig, they were very close to our rig to knock that down.
Yeah. So teach your kids. Don't you do it.
Lead by example.
And here's one that has kind of caused a lot of controversy. Leaving bright lights on at night. I get it. You want to be able to see outside. When you go to bed, shut the lights off.
And some places even have a rule that when quiet hours is the same thing as lights, that you turn off the lights after quiet hours.
Exactly. And I'm not talking about, these lights that people put underneath their rigs to keep rodents away and so on and so forth. You're going to want to keep those on overnight, obviously, because that's them serving their purpose. But what I'm talking about is like your awning light. I've seen people with spotlights out on their rigs. And quite honestly, it's annoying.
And you're in close quarters. You're very close to another rig. You're very close to another family or couple. And it could be, you may not even realize that your light is shining right in their bedroom window where they're trying to sleep, or right in their window behind where their television is, and causing distortion on their television. So just be considerate of how close you are to people. And the lights aren't necessary at night. We actually have a motion sensor light that Felix installed outside that is very helpful if we go somewhere and it gets dark while we're out. It only comes on when we come up to the door.
Exactly. And I mean, I really haven't been that thrilled with it because it doesn't seem to hold the charge very well, but that's an entirely different story. As an alternative there, if you are in an RV park and you've got people out there with, a friggin' disco ball going outside with the bright lights, and look into blackout shades. We were fortunate this rig came with blackout shades. We took them out of our bedroom and we put in
room darkening curtains.
I was not Englishing very well right there. But that's your alternative.
Now, the one thing those room darkening shades won't help with is noise. You can hear a lot of things outside your RV, whether you want to or not. And it's once again, be aware of your surroundings, that there are people very close to you. A lot of people like to sit out by their campfire and they don't realize they're talking at like a lower volume, but then someone says something funny, they bust out laughing. Someone next to you could be fast asleep and you're right under their window. And not to try and spoil people's fun, but it's just being courteous of other people. You wouldn't want somebody to come screaming by your bedroom window at 12 o'clock at night.
And almost every RV park we've ever been in has had defined quiet times. In Cactus Country, where we call home, it's 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. Some of those hours are a lot shorter and some are a little bit longer, but obey the quiet times. That's simply following rules.
And being a good neighbor.
What I like to recall is when we were in Albuquerque, our next door neighbor was totally, completely brand new to RV. They literally bought that RV, brought it home, didn't bring it home. They brought it to the RV park. And they were going to be living in it. One day I was home, Cindy was already at work, and I'm outside having a smoke, and I suddenly hear a song that's actually on my playlist, Lose Yourself by Eminem. Now, I love Lose Yourself by Eminem. Maybe you don't, but that song has a lot of very harsh words in it. And this was playing full volume
On the outside speakers?
on the outside speakers of this RV next to us. I tried to get to her before it got to what the worst part of the song is. And I was unsuccessful because just as I was walking up to knock on her door, it hit that part. And you can go look the song up if you want to know what part I'm talking about. But it had to do with dogs breaking out of a cage. And she was deeply embarrassed. But that could have been anybody just deciding to play their music out over their speakers.
Did she think she was just playing it on the inside?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Like I said, they were brand new. They had no idea that hitting the buttons on their radio was going to change it from inside or outside or both.
Yeah.
Be aware of your surroundings. Now, the next one is one that I actually addressed with the RV park manager at Cactus Country. I asked her, what is the rule that is most broken in the park? And it was a pretty quick response. What is the rule that you find to be the most broken?
The speed at with which people drive through here.
Now, at Cactus Country, it's a 55 plus RV park. So we really don't have a whole bunch of kids running around.
But there are people walking almost all the time in good weather. There are people, and a lot of them are way over 55.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you've got people that are not necessarily, and I'm not being insulting here or anything, but 100% with their faculties.
Or they're just physically not able to really get out of the way.
Exactly. And the speed limit in that park is 5 miles an hour, just like the speed limit in this park. And again, I have yet to remember seeing an RV park that didn't have their speed limit posted. Obey the speed limit. When we were in Tifton at that KOA journey, they used to be out on their porch at the office. And if you came in and were going a little bit too fast, they'd call you on it. They'd scream out your name and say, hey, you need to slow down. But the bottom line here is, what's your damn hurry?
Yeah, and a lot of people in RV parks are on vacation. So it's supposed to be a relaxing time and not a time that you're running around.
Take your time. And you know what? Neither me nor anybody else in this RV park is going to be impressed by your Mustang flying through the park.
Many RV parks have a fire ring in your site when you get there. Some places don't have it there, but you can get it. Some places, I think, rent them. But a fire ring is a nice thing to have if you're in an area where you're not extremely close together. And it's nice if you've got cool nights and you want to sit around a fire. But be aware that when you leave your site, it's not a garbage can. It's not a place to just throw a bunch of stuff and the next person can set it on fire and burn it. We went to one the first park that we ever stayed in Grifton, North Carolina. When we got there, there was some trash in the fire pit, and there was actually a wooden pallet laying over the top of it.
Yeah.
Not sure what that was all about, other than somebody just left it behind. It's discourteous, for one thing, and somebody's got to clean that up. So just let that be one of your checklist items whenever you leave a place, that you look around and make sure all your trash is picked up and that none of it is in the fire ring.
It's not a garbage can. This next one is kind of really hits close to home. If you've been following the channel for any amount of time, you know that we had a bit of an issue pulling into this site. If you want to see that video, it'll be right here. But don't bother people when they're pulling into their site, or conversely, pulling out of their site. Most successful RVers have a system. When they're pulling in and getting ready to hook up, they're doing everything in an order. Like with Cindy and I. Cindy will come inside once I get into the site and start getting things ready in here. I'll be outside hooking up the electric, and then she'll put the slides out, and I'll do the rest of the hookups. She'll get the rest of things going in here.
I'll turn on the air conditioner or the heat, depending on where we are. Make sure the pets are secure, and start a pot of coffee.
Always. And don't interrupt that flow. When we got here, I didn't want anybody else directing me into the site. Cindy and I are on the same page. We know what our signals to each other are. We know, she knows where I want to put the rig, and she's going to direct me right to that spot. If you come over, and I've had people come over and say that, want me to help you back in there? No, I don't. I do not. I want her to help me back in here. And that's not me being nasty or unsociable. That's just me knowing that we've got our system. And if we break from that system, something's going to get missed.
And also, when people are first coming into a RV site, they've probably been traveling all day, or at least 4 or 5 hours. They're tired. They could be irritable. They are ready to get inside, get settled, have a meal, have a cup of coffee, do whatever it is they do when they first get to their site.
Exactly. And I mean, and when we got here, I was very irritable after having gone through the trip from hell. And again, that was linked earlier. All I wanted was to get in the site, get even semi set up. That night, all I did was hook up the electric and the water.
Yeah.
And just end my day. The following day, you wanted to come over and say hi, welcome us to the neighborhood or whatever, you're more than welcome.
Another part of RV park etiquette, and even if you're staying in a city park or state park or somewhere that has some amenities, don't hog them to yourself. Don't use all the washers and all the dryers at the same time. And for goodness sake, don't leave your stuff in the washer or leave your stuff in the dryer and go off and get groceries or something. Pay attention to how long it is. Felix sets a timer whenever he puts things in a laundry in an RV park. He'll put the timer for the washer, come in, do whatever else he's doing, and then when that timer goes off, go put them in the dryer, set another timer for the dryer. So, I mean, it's easy to let those things slip your mind, and you've left them in there. So be aware that there are lots of other people trying to use those things. A lot of places have bathhouses. Some of them have plenty of stalls and stuff, but some of them only have a couple. And it's only courteous to use it, do what you need to do, and get your stuff and leave. Because especially in the summertime when people are going to the pool or they're going off on hikes or they're going off to do whatever they do and come back and it's hot and they're sweaty and they want to get in the shower and you're in there, I don't know, coloring your hair and having a spa day or something in there and nobody can get in. So just be considerate of those amenities. They are for everybody, not just for you. And be considerate and get your part done and get out, take your things with you and leave it the way you found it.
And the dog park, too. When you get in there with your big old dog, I don't care if he's the friendliest dog in the world and he's having quality time with all of his buddies. You can't be in there for an hour and a half. And that is something that I've had a problem with at Cactus Country.
Some people sit there and visit with their friends while the dogs play.
Exactly.
It's not a doggy daycare.
No. And it's not a doggy playground. It's the dog park where you take your dog to do his business, let him run around a bit. Absolutely. 15, 20 minutes? Sure. But if you want him to spend quality time with his buddies, take them back to your site, and you and your friends and your dogs can all mingle. Both non-aggressive dogs like him and aggressive dogs who don't play well with others have just as much right to be in that dog park. Pool etiquette.
Ugh, one of my pet peeves.
Exactly. This is one that gets Cindy really bad. I get it. If you're in a family RV park and there's a lot of kids, you really don't have a right to be upset if there's kids at the pool.
Playing Marco Polo, Marco Polo. Oh.
And quite honestly, if you've got a problem with that, you got to go to parks where there's not kids. But you don't need to be letting your kids just run wild at the pool. First of all, somebody's going to get hurt.
It's dangerous because sometimes kids are just running and running and running.
With wet feet.
And it's not my kids, so I can't say anything. But it's concerning. You know, you don't want to see some kid fall and bust their head open on the side of the pool.
And Cindy's a nurse, so she's obligated to try and help them.
And if I'm at the pool, I'm relaxing. I don't want to be a nurse.
Exactly. Just keep your kids under control. If they're jumping off the side of the pool and having a good time, fine, great, enjoy yourself. Okay? But let's make sure that they're not splashing the people that are laying there in the chaise lounges. Let's make sure that they're not screaming. If they're playing Marco Polo, you kind of got to let them play. Okay?
I usually go inside at that point.
Marco, just keep your kids under control at the pool, and everybody will be happy.
Look at it as an educational opportunity. You can teach your children how to be considerate of others.
There you go.
That's a nice way to put it.
So keep your kids under control. Let them have a good time. There's no need for them to be screaming and running around. Now, we've dealt with Cindy's pet peeve. Let's deal with mine. Picture this, if you will. You're out. It's beautiful outside. You're on your patio.
70 degrees.
Sunny. Light breeze blowing. You're gonna maybe barbecue. You're gonna sit out there with your dog, wife, maybe have a meal. And your neighbor decides that this is the time he's gonna do his black tank.
Ew.
Yeah.
Especially with the breeze.
Yeah.
I don't care how good your hookup is, you are going to have sewer gases coming up out of there, and it's going to stink. I would say that every RV park we've ever been in, your patio or your fun side faces their business side,
Or the stinky side.
the stinky side. I don't think we've ever been in a park that it wasn't that way.
Yeah.
And unless your black tank is about to blow, you're about to have some disaster if you don't get it emptied right then. You come around the side of your rig and you see your neighbors sitting out there looking to enjoy some quality time out on their patio. That's not the time to do your black tank.
Yeah.
Turn around or say hi, turn around, go back inside, and put it off for a little bit.
There's rarely a time that you have to do your black tank right this minute. If so, you haven't been paying attention to what's going on, or you don't keep up with how often you need to change to
That's
dump it.
exactly right. There really should be no situation where you're in a disaster, a potential disaster, if you don't empty your black tank at that moment. So be a little courteous. And finally, a little bonus. When you pull into your site for the first time, observe the area
Notice what is your site.
and stay within your site.
There's usually the demarcation is usually the power poles, and you can tell pretty quickly from there to the road how much your site covers.
And yet, we've still seen people whose slides were hanging past the power pole into our site.
Almost into our window.
Yeah. We've seen people, fortunately not us, but I've seen it in other sites, where people were parking their vehicles basically in their neighbor's site. Courtesy. Etiquette. They are not lost arts. And they don't need to be if you ensure that you follow these rules of etiquette that are just rules of society.
Again, common sense.
Common sense, which doesn't seem to be quite as common anymore. And maybe that goes to the fact that everybody was buying RVs during COVID. I don't know. I don't think you know. We just don't know why. But it seems like this has kind of gone down the tubes lately.
Yeah.
And we need to find a way back to it. Because whether you're a full-timer like us, or a full-timer that travels every 2 weeks, or a part-timer or a weekend warrior, we're doing this to enjoy it. Let everybody else enjoy it too. Thanks for watching. See you next week.